On this episode of Late Night Writers, our hosts Debbie and Jade speak to the owner of the Northwest Ohio nonprofit Dusty Boots, Stacey Creps, about how everyone should get an opportunity to ride and the work they do to give back to the community across the region.
So today we're here, with Stacey Creps from Dusty Boots, and of course we have Jade and
Debbie. We also have Debbie.
And we're going to be talking to Stacey a little bit today about what she does with her Dusty Boots program. She's the owner, and so just to kind of get started, Stacey, how'd you start to get into horses? How did that happen?
So I'm a pediatric therapist, and I've been so for 28 years. And I had always wanted to combine horses with individuals with special needs. So about 14 years ago, we rented some space at a couple barns, and I started doing hippotherapy a little bit at a time, and it grew from there.
So what exactly is hippotherapy? I mean, I know a little bit about it, but could you explain that a little further too?
Right. So hippotherapy has to be performed by a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, or a speech therapist. That's how we can bill insurance if you have a physical therapy company. So we do anything that you would normally do coming to like a hospital clinic, but use a horse instead of like a ball or a balance beam. We use their individual motion to work on the goals for therapy.
Okay. Is there any like additional certification you have to get to do this with horses, or?
So you don't have to, but I have certified through the American Hippotherapy Association. I haven't checked recently, but several years ago there were only 2 other in the state of Ohio, because it takes a lot of hours, a lot of dollars to get that done. And then I also am certified through the Path International as a riding instructor.
Okay, all right. Cool. Now, let me just ask you this, with the horses and the you work with all kinds of different people. Let's talk about that for a minute. You have all kinds of people that come to the barn. Maybe you could talk a little bit about those people that come and who you work with?
Yes, we have, pretty much anything you could think of, those are the individuals that we serve. So we have as young as 2 up to the oldest person that's been at the barn to ride has been 96. And so that's
awesome.
I know, that was very awesome. She was, I hope I'm as spry as she was. She came in with her walker, carrying her walker, not using her walker. She's like, where's that horse? She was a hoot. But so we also have people in wheelchairs. We have individuals with Down syndrome, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, ADHD, autism, some just with general delay or poor motor coordination. So pretty much anything you can think of, as well as typical developing individuals.
Mm-hmm. And how many horses do you have for these?
Well, so we have about 30 right now. I say about because after a while you stop counting. You just feed them till they're done.
A sea of red and bay.
It is. And some palomino in there and a couple paints. So, so about 30. We don't use all of those for either our hippotherapy or our riding lessons. We have some babies. We have some horses that just aren't ready to do lessons.
So how do you go about determining that? Like, what do you think makes a horse, like, how can you tell a horse is ready to be a hippotherapy horse?
Right. So the biggest part is their temperament and their personality. They have to tolerate a lot of pushing, pulling, random loud noises, sudden movements. It doesn't happen a lot, but we ask people to do hard things. So sometimes, they might whack the horses, like smack them when they get upset. So we're very blessed that our horses tolerate that a lot. And we have good horse handlers too, to monitor those situations. But also the horses have to have symmetrical movement. They have to be able to extend their gaits and collect their gaits. So sometimes it's tricky. People will call and want to donate a horse, but it has a really bad shoulder injury, but it's, super kind. And I'm like, well, that's great, but we, need it. Like, it still has to do its job.
I haven't thought about that, the movement of the horse. Like, if you've got one that's, like, kind of, like, jumpy in the hocks,
Right.
So not everyone's going to be able to sit that trot or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
a lot
also
to think about.
there is, and we also, so if you think about it, some horses are more sideways movers, which is good for someone that can't walk very well, because it'll help them learn to advance their leg. Some are smooth, some are up and down, so we like to have a variety of horses to be able to choose from.
Cool.
And then do you feel like you match that person to that particular horse then? Or do you
Yes.
feel that you can kind of move them around, or do they kind of get their horse and they stay with that horse?
Yeah, so it depends on what we're working on that day. So I can give a good example. There was one little girl who had come to me, this was years ago, with spina bifida, and she was just trying to figure out how to learn how to walk. And so we talk about that lateral moving horse. So if you're sitting on it, and if you think it shifts you from one seat bone or one hip to the other, side to side. So when you walk, you have to shift to your left leg so your right leg can move forward. So we put her on one of those horses that we had, and about 3 weeks later, she came into the barn walking with her walker. So depending on what we want to work on, so like somebody with ADHD, I will put them on a really bumpy horse because you have to pay attention a lot better, sit up a little bit taller, and keep their brain busy. So, yeah.
That's neat. Do the horses seem to know their job then too, once they get into it? Or do
They
you
do.
find that you have to work them, Yeah.
Well, sometimes they need a tune-up, but we do a lot of, they all need a tune-up. That's right, yes, and Carly. No, I have a great barn manager too, so we keep the horses tuned up. But yeah, we do a lot of work before we ever put any kids on them, especially for hippotherapy. We, jump up and down and throw things and do all the crazy things that they're like, why did I come to live at Dusty Boots? I'm not sure. So, yeah, we want to be safe. Safety is the biggest thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So with, you have other people that just come, do they come just to ride, to learn to ride? And then you also talked about like someone that was like 96. I mean, do you have people also not just maybe particularly special needs, or does it seem it's more that than anything?
So we have a wide variety. And when I sit down and think about it and list everything out, I'm like, wow, it sounds like we do all kinds of stuff. So we do provide the hippotherapy, but then we also do adapted riding lessons, again, for any age and ability. Those are more affordable than therapy is. We have a lot of crossover, work on all the same kind of things with a riding lesson. Midline and coordination, balance, following directions, answering questions if that's something you need to work on. But then we also have typical riders for lessons. We also have, so the lady that was 96, an assisted living facility called me and asked, hey, we have this, she really for her birthday wants to come out and ride. So we made that happen. But we have also had field trips, and we have had 2 assisted living facilities come out and bring 10 to 12 individuals. Some of them ride, some of them don't. We've had some preschools come out. We'll do birthday parties. We've put on clinics, camps. Camps are coming up in the summer.
I was going to say, do you do summer camp?
We do a whole bunch, and we always have a Christmas camp too over Christmas
Fun.
break.
That's I've not heard that as an idea. That's a good idea.
So it's whoever can brave the cold
Yeah.
and have some hot chocolate
Yes.
can come out. So
You can do anything for hot chocolate.
you can. You definitely can. You can hold out.
Now, do you do most of this in the indoor, or do you go outside? You said you have summer camp, so I imagine that's outside too, but how does that work?
Yeah, we have both. So today we were riding outside before I came. It was great. February, we're riding outside in the nice
High of
sunshine.
57 today?
Yes. Half an inch of rain tomorrow, but we won't talk about that.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So we do. We have 2 indoors. We have one, it's 80 by 104, so that's a nice size. And then we were very blessed. A year and a half ago, we put up another one, and that is 80 by 250.
Wow.
So we have that big area. And then we have a outdoor. It's probably 100 by 200, I think, something like that. So we try to be outside as much as possible because who doesn't want to be in the sunshine?
Yes.
Now, are you in the midst of all of this? But I'm sure you have to have a lot of people that are helping you, because this is that's a lot to try to take care of and do with that many students and horses, I'm sure.
It is. It is a whole lot to take care of. So my right-hand girl is my daughter-in-law. Carly Creps, and she manages a lot and she rides a lot of the horses too. And I have several instructors and then stall cleaners. We have a student intern right now, so usually we try to pick one of our people, whether it's from the show team, one of our several show teams, but a high school student to be like our student intern, so they get to ride several days a week in trade for working and then education activities. So she'll go to the vet with us here in another month when we get injections. She'll help with the dentist and any extra things. So we can give her a little boost, get her some extra riding time, and she can learn. We also have some interns coming in the next month from Black Hawk College.
Yeah.
That's where Peyton was. Yep. And my son went there and my daughter-in-law. So we'll have one for the spring.
It's a good program.
It's a very good program. I was very impressed. They've also been national champions and everybody's out there really helpful. It takes a lot of work to get everything done.
It's all about the team.
It is.
Especially with horses. I feel like having a good team around you is very helpful.
Yes.
And how many years have you been doing this?
So we put up our current barn in 2012. Before that, like I said, so probably for 3 or 4 years, we were renting space. And sometimes people are not very tolerant of individuals with special needs. So it was time to find our own place, our own facility where if something happened, it was going to be okay. And we had just happened to buy the 20 acres behind us. So instead of farming it, my husband was super nice. I was like, what do you think about building a barn? He was great. He is great. He does a lot of the work and, just keeps on going.
Nice.
So
has it come into what you expected it to be? I mean, how many people go into, being a therapist or whatever, say, this is what I'm going to do one day? Is that what you looked at doing? I'm thinking for people that are thinking, maybe I'd like to do a career, something like this at some point. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, so it's way more than I ever would have thought, because when we built our first barn, I thought we won't need anything bigger. And so we've already added an arena and need to add another barn. But it grew out of, so like I said, I was a physical therapist, and I had spent a lot of years working with kids who, could only come in the evening for therapy, or I can only get off for lunchtime, can we do 45 minutes? Or Susie can't go, she's 6, but she can't go in the 6-year-old class, at daycare because she's not potty trained, so she has to be with the younger kids, or, Tommy can't bring his walker because that's not safe. So I really had a burden on my heart. God gave me a burden, and we started Sensational Kids, which is a daycare, preschool, and K-6 program for individuals with special needs. So we had that, and I thought, we need to bring these kids to some horses. So Dusty Boots grew out of that. Again, renting space, doing hippotherapy. And then here we are today with 30 horses and way more, way more things than I ever thought were possible. So God is good, and you never know where you're going to go.
For certain. I agree with you on that one for sure. That is very true.
This podcast is brought to you by Ram Fence and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
Can you,
Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe what you think horses specifically bring to anyone, but specifically individuals who may be differently abled, or just what you think the key benefits are for hippotherapy, essentially?
Right. There's so many. The horses are kind of a little bit like magic. So, we do amazing things at the barn, but really I don't do as much as you think, because the horses do so much of the work. There's a lot of natural consequences. If you don't control your emotions, well, the horse is not, the horse is going to respond differently. We have to brush this horse before you can get on and ride. I know that you have tactile difficulty, you have trouble crossing midline, you have trouble holding the brush, but we have to do this before we can get, to that. So there's a lot of conquering your fears, just putting that horse piece in there and naturally what you have to do in the barn. It kind of just provides, again, tactile, vestibular input, proprioceptive, all those things that just, we don't have to work real hard at making somebody do it. It's motivating in itself.
So if someone's thinking of having their child or loved one come to the barn and work with you, what would be their means of getting to you, and would you be telling them things beforehand to expect or to do to help them before they get into a type of program, or how does that work?
Yeah, so typically you can reach me. My cell phone is everywhere, like text or call me. We do have our Facebook page that you can message, and then we have our website with our email. So any of those ways are a good way of getting a hold of us. Some people call and just want to automatically, no, I want a riding lesson, schedule me an appointment, and we will set up that. Some people want to come and take a tour. And obviously there's a lot of people that are nervous, like, oh, I don't, Johnny's worried around dogs. I don't think he'll like horses, but someone said this would be good. We haven't had anybody yet that isn't successful. But so sometimes we can take a tour, see if the environment is conducive to learning, and then you can make your decision if you want to come back.
Do they need to bring certain specific things with them ahead of time, or?
Closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
Closed-toed shoes, long pants.
So not too many requirements, so anybody can
Nope.
come in and
Yes.
join in. That's wonderful.
Yep.
So do you have any particular special success stories that you feel, were really heartwarming to you, or that you feel really, you've mentioned some already.
Right.
How long it takes maybe for, that person to come along.
Right. It takes years. There's so many stories. I guess, so the Congress, the All-American Quarter Horse Congress, we have had 2 Congress champions there. So the EWD classes have been going on for 8 years, I believe. There was, a couple years during COVID that made it tricky. But so it does show you that hard work pays off. And these girls, they laugh sometimes because they're riding borrowed horses, sometimes borrowed clothes, but taking many lessons a week, riding hard, riding all the different horses so you can figure out how to ride. And then winning, the Congress is the biggest single breed horse show in the world. So that has just been pretty cool because the 2 girls, they worked hard. They had a lot of difficulties, and they persevered and won.
Is that considered, as you were saying, though, is that your Special Olympics team that you're talking about? Is this a whole different thing?
Yeah, so they do participate on their Special Olympics team, but then we have several other riding teams. So besides Special Olympics, they have also competed in our summer show team.
Okay.
So we go to local open shows close around here. So that's all summer long that people can compete. And you don't have to own your own horse, which, is something that we feel strongly like. Horses are expensive, as we all know, and not many people can afford them. So if we can give the opportunity to, be able to show and learn how it is to show, and you don't have the responsibility of owning a horse.
It's kind of like having the fair experience without having your own animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Well, because I have lots of people, we want to show at the fair. Do you do that? And I'm like, well, no, but we have this other opportunity. So they did show on our open team to get more experience, and then they were both part of YEDA, so Youth Equestrian Development Association, which that is all winter long. Our Hancock Horseman team does that, but you ride different horses during every show. So again, making you a more diverse rider, figuring out how to get along with the horse and get it through a pattern, and figuring out what makes it work. So they both did all of that, worked very hard, and then showed at the Congress.
Do you think you could talk a little bit more about YEDA? You and me were talking about this a little bit before we started, but I'm from Minnesota originally, and there weren't any YEDA teams, and I think that there still aren't in Minnesota. So a lot of the U.S. does not have YEDA, and I think it's a huge asset. So could you talk a little bit more about what that is? Sure.
So YEDA started probably, I think this is maybe the 7th season. I'm not 100% sure. It all runs together after a while. But so it runs in the same form as IHSA, the college riding. So it is catch riding. So we go to a show, and, if you're going to be in your class, all the coaches meet, and we draw names kind of out of a hat. So Oh, guess what? You're riding Charlie today in your rail class, and you're riding Diamond in your pattern class. So it's a horse that you have most likely not ridden. You don't get a warm-up. You just have to get on, go right into the pen, and do your work and see if you can figure out how the horse goes. The benefit, again, is you don't have to own your own horse. Everybody shows in a Yida Oxford and, chaps and either a helmet or a hat. So it's a level playing field. Now, we have to take horses to the show, so you might be lucky and draw one of our own horses that we brought. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's better. The pressure's on if it's a horse you know. So,
Or you know how it's been riding at home.
And you're like, oh, I got him today, which has happened too. But yeah, and it is nationwide. I don't know if there's any in Minnesota, but I do know, it started here in Ohio. The founders are from Ohio, so it's, the most concentrated here, but there is...
I know there's some in like Washington.
There are
and
Washington
stuff, like
now.
Indiana, like more
Yes.
Midwesty, and then like
Yeah.
Washington and stuff.
Yeah.
Last I heard, none in Minnesota, but
So Wisconsin has some now, and Florida, and this last year started like Maine, like the New England states started to get some more. So,
yeah.
Iowa has a few.
Now, in those different shows and things that they do they mainly do Western? Do they do English? Is there dressage? Or how does that work then?
So Yida is Western only.
Okay.
So we have walk trot. So it goes from 4th grade to 12th grade. The EWD, Equestrians with Disabilities, has no age limit. And so they have walk trot horsemanship, pattern and rail. We do ranch riding and then reining.
Sweet. Aw.
Yep.
It's almost like a different kind of 4-H, you know what I mean? When we started
Yeah.
4-H, it was so much fun, like really a fun thing to do. And they learn all their little different patterns and everything,
Yes.
which is really nice.
Well, it is fun. And they still, we take the horses to the show. So we, it is like a club. We expect everybody, you have to hold the horses, you have to help feed them, water them, clean their stalls, make sure, they're put away for the night. So again, to just instill that responsibility and learn about the horses and what it takes.
And I think it's so cool because, like, without some of these programs like this, getting into showing can be really daunting and stuff. And this is almost like a crash course in showing. Like, you don't need your own horse. You don't really, you don't need a lot of the things that would maybe be required to learn how to show and stuff. So I think it's cool in that regard as well, that it allows people to have that experience and kind of get some show miles under their belt.
It does for sure. A lot of things that they wouldn't have been able to do, or even go places that they wouldn't have been able to see. Even just to go to Tennessee for nationals is, people turn it into a vacation. So
Yeah, I know all of the Yida kids that I know are always talking about nationals.
yes, that's very fun.
So how many volunteers do you usually take with you? Is it more parents that are just there to help with their children? Or it sounds like it would take, how many people usually go when you go someplace like for nationals or,
So on our team, we have a pretty big team. We have 50 or 52 kids on the team, which is a very big team.
Awesome.
It's very big. So last year, I think we had 29 national qualifiers, which is, again, that's pretty cool to have that many qualify for nationals.
Absolutely.
So the kids help, and then their parents, pitch in. So that's who goes.
Oh, that's
Yep.
awesome. Okay. So with the Special Olympics team, though, just to talk about that, the Special Equestrian team, Special Olympics Equestrian team, what is that something where do you work all year? They work all year for that then? And is there a specific show that you go to for that? Or is it with what you do, or how does that work?
So we go all year round. I know that some counties, so technically we're the Henry County Special Olympics team, but they're not that many teams around us. So we actually have 5 counties that practice with us. But we do go year round. I know some programs don't. We're blessed. Like, our stall barn is heated. Our arena's not heated. But by the time you get on, you're like, yeah, I can ride for 30 minutes. Like, I got my own little heater here working hard. But there is the state show that's in the summer. Last year it was at Springfield. And then, so this past year, COVID kind of put a halt a little bit, with everybody. The train was really going full speed ahead. We had hosted some regional qualifiers at Dusty Boots for the Special Olympics. And then it just kind of slowed. And so a lot of people stopped participating, not necessarily from our team, but just a lot of the other counties. I think they struggled to keep going and keep organized. So we still have the state meet, but it has been a lot smaller the last couple years.
Okay.
So, yep.
And now, I'm sorry, because I'm not trying to, is the Special Horseman's Connection, is that something different? You have so many programs.
I know. That's what I said. You sit down and you're like, what the heck is going on here?
Right.
So the Special Horseman Connection is a 501c3 that Dusty Boots started
Okay.
5 years ago. It all runs together. And so that was specifically to raise money to give grants to individuals with special needs to participate in horse-related activities. So it could be competitive showing, it could be riding lessons, camp, hippotherapy. And so how that works is we just started our grant cycle for this year. So you have to get 20 volunteer hours during the year at scheduled activities that we have. And then next year you can apply for a grant. So we just finished up our grant interviews last weekend. So we've now given away $50,000 in the last several years. So that's pretty cool. The money does not have to be spent at Dusty Boots. I think that's why people think, I'm like, no, I would love for people we don't even know to come and help and, build awareness for how horses can help the community and take that money to wherever it is that you want to learn about horses and participate in things. So, yeah.
Sounds like a wonderful program. Really, very, very good. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on, though, that you would talk about that we haven't talked about within all that you do, because you have so many different programs? I know there's a lot, right?
There is.
You'd like to speak about? Yeah, that we didn't talk to you about or ask?
Well, one thing coming up, next month we will be getting 4 Mustangs from the Bureau of Land Management. So Carly has done the Extreme Mustang Makeover. She had done it 5 times. And so last year was they also participated in it. So this year they're not doing the Mustang Makeover, but they still are adopting out Mustangs. So we have 4 that will be coming home. 1 is a yearling, so baby, and then 3 of them are 3. Because we thought, who wouldn't want to ride 3 unbroke wild Mustangs all at once? Because we're a little bit crazy. So that's coming up, and we will be putting stuff on our Facebook page because we'll be having a couple set times where people can come out and meet the Mustangs and
make it a learning opportunity.
Yeah, a learning, like, wow, and I think people take for granted, like we're used to our unbroke horses that we get, like we have some babies, but like the kids can handle them because they've been handled since birth. Yeah, not rounded up a year ago out in Nevada and then coming on a trailer to Ohio. Yeah, so like it'll, like, no, they actually can hurt you. Like, this is a wild animal, not like when we say a wild baby. So they can learn, see a wild animal. And then the end result, like, oh, guess what? These are great animals still.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that's exciting.
Yep. So that's coming up.
Nice. Well, do you have anything in the future? Do you have future goals and things that you're looking at or thinking of doing for Dusty Boots, or are you just so busy right now that can't think of anything?
My brain is
more in.
I know my brain is always full. Well, and the other thing, we last fall launched a veterans program. So we are also looking for participants. We have grant money that we can use for riding lessons or any horse assisted activity. So we are looking for veterans because it's no cost to them. So we have that. But we have some big plans like to build on and, maybe have a tack store run by individuals with special needs or, like all kinds of things.
Nice. Well, with everything that goes on, do you ever get a chance to ride? Do you want to ride? Or do you get a chance to?
I mean, I do like to ride.
Do you get a chance to?
I try. I mean, if you get up really early.
Like you start to take what you do and you love, and then you turn it into something that
I know.
the chance
It
to,
is.
Yeah.
I know. All the kids, I want to live here with you. And I said, well, if you live here with me, you're going to work a lot and not ride.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I said, I know. You'd think I'd ride all day. No, I do.
What to do?
At this point, we have so many horses that, yes, somebody has to ride them. So, yep.
Yep. Good.
So,
That's
yeah.
good. So we'll be taking a short break, and when we get back, we'll enter our next segment, Canter Banter.
Do you have horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our blog at yourhorsefarm.com. Yourhorsefarm.com is a great equine online resource. So be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often.
So now we'd ask you maybe to if you had a special story or something that you thought that you'd like to share with our Canter Banter. And what will you be talking about today with that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you come up with anything?
Give me just a second here.
We can start again. We can just cut all that out and start again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll add the Jeopardy.
I rolled right into it, but we can just stop if you have if you have a story that you think is really funny, and we can edit all of this out. Something that's funny, something that
Oh,
really...
I do have. Okay, I've thought of one. It's it's an older story.
Sure.
Okay, so there was a younger boy with autism, and when he had started riding with hippotherapy, he was very verbal. A little bit. And as time went on, he got more verbal and was talking a lot, which was great. But still, a lot of times individuals with autism, they can do one task, but it's hard to translate it over to a social experience or just in general, relating to, other things as you go through your day. Mm-hmm. So he was brushing the horse and saddling. And then all of a sudden he's like, this brush, maybe I brush my hair, or maybe I could use a brush to brush my teeth, just figuring out oh, I'm going to take care of the horse. I also take care of myself, so it's just that's what we want. Being able to relate, oh, I took this specific activity with the horses and it does relate, to something else. And I can take care of myself because I can take care of the horse. So, yeah. So
that's cool.
Connecting those dots.
Yeah, that he would made that connection himself, too, because that's kind of like your main goal as a teacher, is for your students to make the connection for themselves so that you happen to tell them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was very cool because it was all on his own. I was like, good job. So
exactly, actually.
Yeah, that was what we were going for. So that was really good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today to talk to us about this. And again, we'll have information that people can reach you with. And you said your phone number is out there. It's Dusty Boots, and you're located where? Yeah.
We are 15828 at Seago Pike by Weston. Okay. If you look us up on Facebook, look up Dusty Boots Ltd. And it should come up on Facebook. And then our website, dustybootsohio.com.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
we
thank
appreciate
you.
it. I feel very educated with things that I didn't know before, that you do a lot of things. So
right.
Stay busy.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast and encourage you to share with all of your equestrian family and friends. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform as well as our YouTube channel and stay up to date on all of our shows. Do you have a topic to discuss or a guest recommendation for our hosts? Email us at podcast@ramfence.com.